Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Gabriella, and today I want to share some parts from the book I wrote about addiction, Uncovered. And the topic today is smoking. So I would like to read some parts of the book about smoking. This is chapter 16. I just talked to my mom about smoking. She used to smoke. She was never a strong smoker. She did not have time to smoke. She knew people who used to make pasta and smoke at the same time. She would only smoke if she had the free time. She did not have a lot of free time, so she never smoked a lot. She did not smoke just to smoke. When she was pregnant with me, she stopped smoking completely. I'm very grateful for that, Mom. When I was born, everyone went to smoke. Mom had the cigarette with her too. She went out to the hallway to smoke 2 smokes. Then she just did not want it anymore. 17 years after that, she went back to cigarettes when her new partner was smoking. Also, at that time, my uncle Attila and his partner were also smoking, and everyone was smoking around my mom. Still, then, she was only an occasional smoker. She had the same way with alcohol as well. She knew her limit, and too much just did not feel good. When she got pregnant with my sister, she totally stopped smoking and never smoked again. Growing up, I remember seeing her smoking occasionally. She would smoke sometimes, um, these like thin, minty, elegant looking cigarettes. Um, I had no concept then as a child that smoking is bad for people, except that I did not like a smoky room. Mom feels that if someone really wants to quit smoking, they can. She was able to stop as well as my uncle and his partner. It is probably very different for every person. Mom did smoke a lot when my uncle Yoshika died. She was smoking one cigarette after another like a chain, probably because of all the stress. Um, a lot of things had fallen on her shoulder. After a while, smoking so much decreased. Mom tells me that for some people, smoking is difficult also to stop because people are bored and don't know what else to do. It just becomes a trend, something to do during the break at work. I'm really glad that my mom was able to stop smoking. And I'm going to stop for a second and bring in a picture to show you my mom and my grandma. You could see my mom is standing and I am hugging my grandma, and I am on the side that picture was taken 2011 in Hungary. I'm going to jump a few paragraphs ahead and tell you about my stepfather, Zoli. He used to smoke a lot, and he died around 2010. I didn't actually know that he died until after the fact. I found out from my father, who heard it from some people in town. I thought he just wanted to be with his new family, so we kind of lost touch for a while. He loved cars. One thing he did was to get a car, fix it up, and then sell it. Um, we used it a little sometimes. He just loved to hang out in the garage and work on his cars. Spent a lot of time with the cars. He was very proud of them, made them shiny and pretty. He loved his cigarettes and he smoked a lot. It was a trend. Everybody seemed to smoke a lot then. We did not know about secondhand smoking and all the effects that it caused. Both my mom and I would sit in the same room when he was smoking. The company he worked for was also a very stressful place. So stressful that we were receiving letters and going to funerals. People seem to die of a heart attack very frequently. I was young, but it still scared me. He just told me that his job was very stressful and there was a lot of pressure. He also would have some beer and wine every night with a few or more. I remember bringing him the beers when he wanted one. Then he switched from beer to wine because he did not like the stomach that the beer started to give him. He would drink wine with a sparkling water in a tall glass. I learned how to make him. I was young, I didn't know any better, so when he would ask for a drink, I would just bring him one. He smoked. I sat in the same living room. We didn't know then what we know about now, about all secondhand smoking. I certainly had no idea that I will lose him to smoking. He lost his vision in his eye for a while. It was related to smoking. And then he developed lung cancer and developed brain cancer. And then he died. He originally recovered from the eye problem. He was still very young, way too young to die. He could have lived another 30 years or more. He has two older sisters, and he was the little brother. His sisters are still alive today. And he had never had children on his own. He and my mom separated after about 10 years or so. I wish I would have known that he was sick. I wish I was more educated back then to warn him. Maybe I could have talked to him. I wish he would have known that smoking will cost him. He was also the godfather to my son. A very sad loss. I will bring and show you a picture of him on his 40th birthday. This is Kis Zoltán, my stepfather, on his 40th birthday. Of course, he's holding a cigarette in his hand. I loved him very much, and I'm really sad that we lost him the way we did. My birth father, my father, also smokes. He knows the risk, but he still smokes. It is scary. He also had cancer and survived it so far, which I'm really grateful. It was super scary. Was it really related to smoking, his cancer? I don't know. I don't like that he smokes, but it is his decision. All I can hope for that he's just going to be okay. He told me recently that he had no intention of stopping. For a while, I was very upset and angry about him smoking, and then I just learned not to be. It was hard for me to accept that it is his choice to hurt himself. I am here if he needs help with it, but I don't think he will ever ask. My dad tells me that he grew up in Angyalföld in Hungary. I just talked to my dad, and he was telling me that he started smoking cigarettes when he was 7 years old. He used to steal cigarettes from his mom. She did not know about it for a while, and then my dad got caught. I am going to show you a picture of my dad when he was age 8, and he was already smoking at that age. There's a picture of my dad around 8 age. This was 1961 in Hungary, Budapest. My dad was telling me it was the Proletarian era. There were two types of people lived in that era, either people who worked for factories or police officers. Both of these groups smoked like a machine. So much that he tells me that my grandmother got part of her paycheck in cigarettes. This was ended in the 1950s and the beginning of the 1960s. The police officers, instead of getting more money than people who worked in the factories, they got cigarettes as payment. Everyone was smoking back then. That was the trend. One pack of cigarettes, um, it cost 4 forint or 5 forints, Hungarian currency. With the equivalent amount of money, people could have a nice lunch, just comparing to that. This would include a soup and a main entry and a drink. My dad grew up in this environment. He tells me that to become a full citizen in this era, you just had to be smoking. Everybody was smoking, and this was in the 60s. He could go and buy one cigarette or just a few cigarettes, depending on how much money he had. Many people did not have enough money to buy a whole pack. My dad lived in Dagai utca in Hungary, and there was a small market right next to the bar. And the owner of the market would open a package of a cigarette and then start to make like little bundles of like 5 cigarettes at a time. And people didn't have any money to buy a whole pack. They would just come in and buy 5 cigarettes at a time. When my dad was attending elementary school, on the way to school, if he had 20 filler, he would go into the small car market and buy one cigarette in elementary school. What he recalls that there were two types of cigarettes back then, one of them called Sport, the other one called Matra, and they were like a half a size of other cigarettes. And then he was telling me that they were like big boys from smoking in a bathroom during the breaks, and this was still going on even when he was in high school. Kids smoke in the bathrooms. Sometimes the teacher would come in and say 2 or 3 kids need to go out because the smoke was so bad that they couldn't breathe anymore. Then there was a trend started at the end of the cigarettes. They had a filter of them that they licked, and then they threw it up to the ceiling. And then you had all these cigarette butts hanging from the ceiling. I could just totally envision this. The school did not like this. After that, the school sent a teacher to the bathroom in each break, and the school forbade the smoking. But the kids went to the stall, like they would have to go to number 2, and smoke would come out, and the teacher did not care unless there was a butt that flew up to the ceiling. Now, my dad has been smoking for about 60 years. He stopped once for a few months and pretended to stop some other times, but he didn't really stop. He would go to the basement where the wood is to heat the house and smoke there. And his wife Erica would get suspicious why he keeps going to the basement in the springtime so much. Then she would find a pack of cigarettes in his pocket. And he was denying at first, but then he thought he would get into trouble. My dad is so used to smoking that he does not even think about stopping smoking. He could stay maybe 2 or 3 hours away from a cigarette, but not much longer. I could watch a movie, he tells me, without smoking. Then Erica asked him, what about 5 to 6 hours? And he said he did not know if he ever had to go that long without a cigarette. I'm going to show you a picture of my dad and his wife, Erica. That is my dad and Erica in 2017, around Christmas time. Erica also smokes, and she tells me a story how she got started. And she was a teenager in the 70s, and she had a friend and a neighbor, and her name was Grady. And at that time, she explains everybody was smoking. The whole country, wherever you go, everybody was just having a cigarette. People could smoke everywhere, even the birthing center, movie theater, playhouse. It was normal then. She felt like at least 90% of the country was smoking. Um, People know it could cause problems, but nobody really talked about it. Erica was around 13 or 14 when it started by Grady, her friend, asking her to light a cigarette for her. It was a big deal. Next, that was Erica could get a light cigarette by putting it in her own mouth and then light it up, and that was a really cool thing. Grady smoked a lot, and Erica described her smoking as a factory chimney. And in about 6 months, they were smoking together. Thinking back, Erica is horrified what was done to her. Grady made her start smoking, and she became addicted to it. Probably, she adds, without knowing what she had done. The same with cognac. Um, and I am going to show you a picture of Grady on her 80th birthday. This is Grady. She also went by Ditty, and she was 80 years old on this picture. During her pregnancies, Erica did not smoke, but after she went back to it, with my sister Haiti, who is now my youngest sister, Erica did not smoke for about 3 to 4 years. It was hard because both my dad and also Jigabachi, who lived at their house, they would be smoking at the house. And this kind of created a conflict with the family and a lot of stress for Erica. And then she had one cigarette and she thought she could have one. After not smoking for so long, she did not smoke again for a few months, and then she had another one. And in about 3 to 4 months, she got back into smoking again. She likes it, and then she was laughing, telling me that. My dad loves too. They both like smoking, and that is the problem. She would like to stop, but it is really hard. She remembers that when she did not smoke for years, it was a very freeing experience. She gives me an example of going to a play, and it was nice. She could enjoy it without feeling after 1.5 to 2 hours that she does not care what the play is. She just wants to go out and smoke. She also gives me an example of going shopping, where in the end she would not care what they sell, just go and have another smoke again. It is an addiction, she tells me, and she feels sorry that she robbed herself from the freedom she had. Erika is still dreaming that she will stop one day. Right now, she tells me that the addiction is stronger than her willingness to stop smoking. Grady did stop smoking when she was 70 years old. From that time, she was upset with Erika why she was smoking. Erika had observed that people who stop have a hard time when others smoke around them. They give comments and saying bad words, even more than others who never smoked before. She is thinking that this might be related to unconsciously being scared that they might start smoking again while because they were addicted before. It could be also because they are so proud that they stopped and they want to keep preaching to others. We have a conversation about people who smoke and who do not die from smoking, and others who don't die um, or don't smoke, but they still die from a lung or a mouth cancer. Grady started smoking as an adult, which was unusual at that time. Usually, smoking normally starts in the teenage years. Erika brings it up that even all the movies in the 70s, everybody was smoking. I said that at that point, now everyone drinks. Um, Erika laughs. Yes, she was saying that they will probably stop at some point too. She also remembers that when she was very young, the school teacher would send the kids to get cigarettes from across the store. My grandfather, he liked cigars. My dad told me he used cigarettes too, but I never seen that. Apparently, Grandpa stopped smoking when He was in Moscow. This was around 1968, 1970s. He did not smoke for about 5 to 10 years. Then he started using cigars and a pipe once he came back. I remember buying him some. Because he liked them, I bought him cigars as a present. I had no idea that they were harmful to him. He died. Probably smoking did not help prolong his life. I bought him something that caused him harm. I was very young and I didn't know, but still, my father told me Grandpa would be really happy if I get him a cigar for present, so I did. My dad told me that, yes, it was very true. Grandpa loved his cigars. Later in his life, he had a cigar that what he used, and he loved them, and he stopped using cigarettes. Erica found a picture of Grandpa with his pipe, and I'm going to show you that one. This is my grandpa with his pipe. That was the part from the book, and I would just like to add that if you need help stop smoking, there's many programs out there that people can apply and get free Nicorette gum or patches and free help to stop smoking. It is really important because it can increase your chance to live longer and improve the circulation in your body. And I would encourage everybody to try. I know it's really difficult. It's more difficult to stop smoking than any other addiction. It is really gets ingrained in the body, as you could see the example from my own family. And I think if my stepfather wouldn't have smoked and my grandfather wouldn't have used the pipe and the cigars, they would be still here. And also my grandmother died of heart attacks. She had multiple ones and she was smoking a lot too. And maybe she would have lived longer as well if she wouldn't have smoked. We didn't know back then that it was harmful, but we do know now. So if you know anyone, or if you can help anyone, or if you smoke yourself, seek help and see if you can stop smoking. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take care and have a nice day. Bye.